You may have realized that being healthy feels different than it did in the past now that you're over 50. If you want to maximize your health potential but don't have time to read through overwhelming pages of Google links, this is the show for you. Welcome to Healthy Tips After 50. We love doing the research, finding solutions, talking to health experts, and learning what works and what doesn't. Now, your host. She spent the last 25 years dedicated to feeling her best and is here to share her best findings with you, Susan Rosen.
Hello, everyone. This is your host, Susan Rosen, and my guest today is my new best friend, Ilene Block. And I'm really looking forward to having a discussion and learning more about her. So welcome, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. My name is Ilene Block, and I am the founder of Silver and Strong Fitness. And part of what I wanted to come on and talk to your listeners about is my journey, because I have felt like this is my new calling at 65 to really spread the word to other women my age. My little saying is, it's never too late for a new beginning. I spent 40 years yo-yo dieting, and I realize now eating as little as possible to be skinny. And I always weight trained. I did lots of cardio, and it was always for this goal to be skinny. And as I approached my 60th birthday, 5 years ago now, I was like, all right, enough is enough. I'm tired of this. This is not working. I'm going to give myself permission to not diet for my 60th year. So I didn't. And I didn't like gorge or do any of that stuff. But I didn't necessarily have great eating habits. And I can't remember now exactly, but I probably gained 15 or 20 pounds. And my 61st birthday was approaching. And I remember thinking, all right, you need to do something. And I was on Instagram. And at the time, I would post pictures of my dogs and my kids. My husband's an Ironman triathlete and his races. And this post came up by a woman named on Instagram. She's Train with Joan. And it showed that she started a transformation at age 70. And she was like 74 at the time. And it was a remarkable, she was very round at 70. And at 74, this woman had like muscles popping out of her arms. And I was like, okay. And that's how I found the Wonder Women. Her daughter was the founder of this program. And I was like, okay, the universe is speaking to you here. You asked what to do. Here's the answer. And what I learned in the program that was life-changing for me was this concept of eating to fuel your body, counting macros, macronutrients, not calories. I knew what macronutrients were, but I'd never heard of this concept about, looking at protein, fat, carbs, not just how many calories you ate. And for me, that was the missing piece. I did this, I was already weight training, but I realized I'd kind of gotten into a rut where I kind of did the same thing every training session, versus this idea of lifting heavy to build muscle, to be strong and fit as you age, not, again, necessarily to be skinny. And the last piece of it was this idea about your mindset. And I don't know about you, but like, I think many of us are really unkind to ourselves. Like I would say things to myself, right, that I would never say to another person. And it, particularly looking in the mirror, right? And so it was learning the idea of, okay, be aware of how you talk to yourself, be aware of maybe limiting beliefs you have. And so through that process, I lost 40 pounds. It took me a year. And I learned how to eat to fuel my body, like I said, instead of be skinny. And so then I spent a year in maintenance. I did a little bit of a build to build muscle. And then I moved to another coach, because when I was in my 30s and 40s, I'd always wanted to do a bodybuilding show. And I thought the opportunity to do that had passed. And I think a friend mentioned that she was thinking about doing it. So I was like, okay, what the heck? Let's see, when I started it training, I lose track of time. I think I was 62. Let's see. I was, because it was in 2022 that I ended up doing the show. So I moved to actually the founder, Michelle McDonald, her husband trains people for the stage. And so I approached him. He had never trained anyone in their 60s. And I said, "Are you up for a challenge?" And he's like, "Let's do it." And so I spent 6 months working with him and did 2 bodybuilding shows in November of 2022 at 63. Was the oldest competitor there, which was a badge I was proud to wear. And my whole point was I wanted to feel like I belonged. And I did. You know, there were in the, of course, they don't have a category of 60 plus. The one show I did was 50 plus, and there were 4 of us. The next closest gal, I think, was 57. The youngest was 53. And then the second one I did here in Hawaii, the oldest category was 55 plus, and it was just me, which was fine. But what it did for me was say, hey, you did that thing you never thought you could do. What else could you do? And that was really kind of life-changing. And so as you and I chatted a little bit before we started here, I had spent 40 years as a corporate lawyer, and there are parts of that career I really enjoyed and other parts not so much. And rather than, I mean, so at this point, let me just say, I eat double the calories I used to. You know, I lived on like 1,000 calories for 40 years. I ate like 2,000 calories a day. I'm maintaining the lowest body weight I ever maintained. I can bench press with 50-pound dumbbells, which I did in my 20s.
Wow.
And I am healthiest and the strongest, and I think the fittest that I've ever been. Now, granted, time to warm up. I didn't do that in my 20s. I have to take time to recover. Didn't do that in my 20s either. But I just felt like I had this new lease on life. So rather than just retire, I went and got a number of certifications and started Silver and Strong Fitness with the idea of focusing on women like us, right? 50 plus. All of my clients are postmenopausal, which I think is a fabulous place to be. My youngest client is 56, the oldest is 71, and they're phenomenal women. And so my mission now is to let women know you're not too old. It's not too late. You can change your life and be, be fit and strong and healthy in, I don't know, what do they call it? Like your second act or whatever. Whatever it is, to age in good health and be strong and independent and be able to carry your own groceries and get down on the floor and play with your grandkids and get up off the toilet all those things, right? To be independent and have quality of life. So, and then I will just end it with, this is way more fun than practicing law. Not that that's a big surprise, but it is way more fun than practicing law. So I'm kind of on this mission to get the word out to people, particularly to women in my group, that, come on board. There's plenty of room, and it's a lot of fun, and it's a great community.
Yeah. Oh no, it sounds like it. It sounds like it. So how does how does Silver and Strong, I mean, is it like you have groups online, or you have,
right? Yeah, it's all on. It's all online, although I do have a client here in Maui. But it's online one-on-one coaching. And so I meet once a week on calls with my clients for the first so many weeks. And then we go to every other week. And then I do a group call with all of my clients where we might talk about nutrition issues. Most women don't eat enough protein. And so we talk about ways to get more protein. We might talk about some training. One of the big cornerstones of the training program is making sure you're lifting heavy enough. It's another thing most women aren't willing to push themselves to lift heavy enough. And we talk about RPE8, which is rate of perceived exertion. So the idea is that by the end of your set, you could maybe squeeze out 2 more reps. And then we talk a lot about mindset. And one of the things I realized I used to do when my coach would send me a new workout and there might be a new exercise, and I'd look at it and go, oh, I can't do that. I hadn't even tried, but I didn't even realize that conversation was going on in my head. And so a lot of it's just a realization around our own limiting beliefs. so that if first you have to realize you're even doing it before you can change it. So that's part of the conversation as well. And the other reason I started the group calls is one of the biggest gifts my transformation program gave me are friends that I just came back from Sedona. I went with 3 of the friends I met through this training group who become some of my closest friends, because making a decision to live this kind of lifestyle, you know, I don't have a lot of people in my life who have a lot of interest in talking about macros or you know, PRs on your deadlift or whatever. I mean, they'll humor me, but having people who are also doing those things and having those conversations is awesome. And making new friends that become really good friends in your 50s or 60s is such a gift. And so having these women being able to meet each other, they're just all fabulous. And they live all over the country. I have my newest client is from Australia, but you know, from California to Nevada to Texas to Minnesota to Connecticut, they're all over the place. And so that, you know, so that's the program. I provide them with macros and workouts, and we talk about them weekly. And I have some clients whose goals were to lose body fat, but I have, you know, other clients who came in who didn't need to lose weight, but they weren't really good about how they were eating and they wanted to get strong. I'll just tell you a story about one of my clients, Anne, who I just love. So she's 5'2". She came in at 115 pounds. And she said, look, some days I only eat one meal. I really don't know what proper nutrition looks like, but I want to get strong. And she'd been doing yoga for years. So she started out at 1,100 calories. Yeah. So she had strong arms and she could do handstands, but she'd never really weight trained. But she was only eating 1,100 calories, and sometimes it was just in 1 or 2 meals. So we slowly started increasing the amount she was eating. She started a weight training program. She lost 3 inches in her waist to realize she was really inflamed from the way she was eating. She's been working with me for 15 weeks now. She's eating almost 2,000 calories a day, and she's lost 5 pounds. And we'll increase her macros, and then we'll stay there for a couple of weeks. And then she gets hungry again because her body wants more food. And now that she's feeding it and lifting, so she's funny. She's like, this is awesome. She used to share a steak with her husband. And she said, when he said, you need to get your own now, because her piece was getting bigger and bigger. And it's just the idea of, you know, and that's
I love it.
Right. But it's the idea of eating to fuel your body. I think a change in certainly the message that society and social media had given us for so many years. So that's what I'm doing. And that's what the program looks like. We're going to start a group coaching program because we're pretty full on the one-on-one in August, which will be very similar, but instead of the one-on-one calls, there'll be weekly group calls. And I'm excited about that. We're going to add some more coaches that are also 50 plus. That's the other thing is part of why women come to me, first of all, they watched my transformation online. So they know that I know how to do it, but it's different to have a coach who is in your age group, particularly who's gone through menopause, who understands what that means, who understands what it's like to be postmenopausal versus, you know, someone who's in their 20s or 30s, or to be frank, even 40s.
Oh, no. You got to be past
it really makes a difference. It just does.
It's huge. It's huge.
Yeah.
Physically, it's huge.
So that's what I'm doing and why I'm doing it and who I'm doing it with. And it's really been one of the most fulfilling things I've ever done. I mean, I did enjoy some aspects of my legal career. I worked with a lot of business owners directly, and that was great. But this really is one of the most fabulous things I've ever done. So I love it.
Oh, yeah. No, it definitely agrees with you.
No, thank you. Yeah, it's very fulfilling. I mean, I know what it did for me, this being going through this, particularly answering a question, or, a desire that I had been attempting to deal with for 40 years. But to pay it forward to others is really, there's no better feeling than being able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I totally agree. Absolutely. Yeah. So how very exciting. So what kinds of, I mean, when you talk about, even like now you have the one-on-one, but then you're going to change to more, or
Right to
add,
the group.
yeah, the group, tell me a little bit about how it actually works.
Sure.
Right.
So it's interesting. I've been talking to a lot of people this week, and a lot of people don't really understand how macros work. So one of the things we start with is talking about, macronutrients and the idea of eating, protein. So my program, people eat 5 times a day. Like, I was laughing. Someone said to me, "Oh, you should take the supplement on an empty stomach." And I said, "My stomach's never empty." I said, I eat all day. And the idea is to eat around your weight training, because again, you're looking to fuel your body. So we talk about eating protein at every meal, and the amount of carbohydrates you eat change. You eat more before and after your training, and less later in the day, particularly if you're trying to lose body fat. And so we talk about that, and we go over what their proposed macros are. And then we talk about weight training. And I have some clients who had never lifted a weight before. I have one client who's 68. She'd never weight trained before. So we may start with just body weight exercises, which, if you haven't done squats, or even if you haven't done squats in a while, doing body weight squats where you actually, squat down to your quads parallel, particularly if you do it where you hold it for a minute or two, you're lifting your own body weight up and down. Weight. So starting with that, or push-ups, whether they're from your knees or against the wall, or depending on where you're starting. There's plenty of, body weight exercises you could do, or starting with whatever weight. I have my clients choose the weight. We talk about the concept of an RPE 8, that you want to push yourself to where you could only do 2 more reps before you reach failure. But they need to decide what the right weight is for them. And people start slowly and cautiously, which is exactly what I would want someone to do. So I have clients who start with 3-pound weights, 5-pound weights. It's particularly,
I have some 2-pound weights personally.
Right? Well, yeah, it's wherever you are. And the client who never trained before, she started with 3 and 5-pound weights, and now she's using 10 and 12-pound weights.
All right.
And that's the kind of improvement we're looking for. Everyone is on their own. Boy, one of the things I definitely learned with my own transformation, we all have our own path. We all have our own timeline for progress. We bring our own history, our own physiology, our genetics, all of that make a difference. And, my whole thing is consistency, not perfection, because perfection doesn't exist. These are my mantras. I repeat to myself, on a regular basis. Discipline, not motivation, because Lord knows I'm not always motivated to go work out, but I always start. And sometimes it ends up being a great workout, and sometimes it's just an okay workout, and I just get through it, right? And comparison is the thief of joy. Because
comparison is what? I'm sorry,
comparison is the thief of joy.
Right?
Because
sometimes
it's hard not to compare yourself to other people, but it doesn't matter. I use a story because it makes me laugh when I think about it. So I have a friend, Tanya, who is 58, and she did her first powerlifting competition last year, and she won the Canadian National Championship for her age and her weight group. She is ridiculously strong. Yeah, she's amazing. Ridiculously strong. My PR, my highest weight I've ever done in a deadlift is 20 pounds lighter than what she warms up with. I mean, she lifts like 100 pounds more than I do, which is fine. She inspired, right? But if I tried to compare myself to her and say, well, you should be lifting what Tanya lifts, like, what would be the point of that? It doesn't matter. All that matters is what's heavy for me, because I'm trying to improve my strength. And sometimes it's hard to remember that with all of what you see on social media and, you know, even what your friends may be doing. Well, yeah, social media, that's a whole nother conversation.
Oh
So
yeah.
that's my third little mantra. So it's, you know, consistency, not perfection, discipline, not motivation, and comparison is the thief of joy. And I repeat those to myself on a regular basis for, you know, all sorts of reasons. So those are things I talk to my clients about. And so it's eating their macros, doing their training, being kind to themselves. You know, it's talked about.
Isn't that novel?
Well, right, because I would say, I would look in the mirror and say things to myself that I would never say.
We all do.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And where's the benefit in that, right? Of being so nasty to ourselves. So really even having the awareness that you're doing that, and finding a way to stop it, you know, is really all part of the program. And having patience, right? As long as you don't give up, you will get there wherever there is. And maybe it's a current goal. And then maybe when you get to that goal, you set a new goal.
Right.
But, you know, I think there's a lot in our society of, you know, I want it now and it needs to be immediate. You know, we chatted a little bit before the podcast about how I got just destroyed on Instagram when I just said I was sad that Oprah, you know, talked about Ozempic and that it was the be all and end all to the, you know, the solution to her weight issues, rather than her ever talking about, you know, whatever challenges led her to it. Man, I got destroyed. And I think part of it was because she gave people an easy answer. It's like, oh, well, you know, I must have this problem. I'll just take this drug and lose all this weight. That doesn't change your habits. I would be shocked if anyone who lost weight on Ozempic and then went off it didn't gain all their weight back, because there's a reason you gained the weight in the first place. So, you know, slow and steady, the answers but yeah, it takes work. But what better investment than investing in yourself and your health? Because, you know, I think we all would like to live to a ripe old age, but if you don't have quality of life, you know, what's the point of doing that? So that's really my message about healthy aging, that you can take control of your life and age in good health. It just takes you being honest with yourself and being willing to put the work in. And then it's just joyful. It's just joyful, I have to say. Wake up every day grateful and happy, and not say I don't have aches and pains. And, you know, I have rotator cuff issues from years of doing too much without giving my body enough time to rest. But overall, well, I will just tell you, I had made a goal that I wanted to be able to do an unassisted pull-up. I'd always wanted to do that. So I am nothing if not stubborn and focused, sometimes to my detriment. So I did pull-ups every day. I can't remember now. It was either 13 months or 15 months. I don't remember how long it took me. But I did it, and I was able to do, like, I remember it was 3 or 5 unassisted pull-ups. I was very proud of myself. But in the course of doing pull-ups every day for that long, I irritated the crap out of my rotator cuffs. And I couldn't do, like, I couldn't do push. I couldn't do any kind of pushing motion. And I couldn't squat for 6 months because I couldn't bring my hands back like this and hold on to the bar. So, you know, with age comes a certain amount of wisdom, but sometimes we have blind spots. So,
sometimes you forget how old you are.
I have to see, you know, so I just turned 65 last month. And I really do, because sometimes I think about my age and I think, holy cow, you are old. But I don't feel old. I don't know about you. I lost any emotional attachment to my age when I turned 50, because I remember thinking, I don't know how I'm supposed to feel. I don't know how you're supposed to feel at 50. And so I just forget. And that's okay, right? So how old do you feel?
No. I'm 69. And I look forward to every birthday. I look forward to every year. And the reason my that I ended up how I am, because everybody's different. Everybody's got age issues, right? Good, bad, whatever. I have 3 older brothers, and they're all a lot older than me.
Okay.
Okay. 13 years, 11 years, 6 years.
Okay.
Not because it was planned, just it was the way that life worked.
Uh-huh.
Okay? And so I have been spending my whole life trying to get older. I've been trying to catch up, you know.
That's awesome. Oh,
so I love having birthdays. I love telling people how old I am. You know,
well,
I mean, it's just
you look amazing. I will tell you, I would never in a million years have guessed that were your age. And yeah, it's a gift, right? It's a gift to get older. That's the other thing is, every year is a gift. I mean, what's the alternative? So,
well, that's true. That's true.
But we also live in a society that it's all about looking young and being young, and that's the whole thing around all the plastic surgery, and which, look, your body, your choice. I'm not saying people shouldn't have it. It's their choice. It's why are you having it? Is the reasoning,
and sometimes it's necessary.
Sure, absolutely.
I mean, that's the thing that people talk about plastic surgery. Well, plastic surgery got started because it was necessary.
Well, absolutely. And there, again,
so,
I don't have any problem with plastic surgery.
Yeah, I'm just saying, things get a bad rap, right?
Well, yes. Because there's lots of, let's go back to Ozempic, right? Ozempic was created to help people who have diabetes. And in fact, I know of people who've had a hard time getting a hold of it because it's being used for, this other purpose now. So yes, I mean,
I agree.
So I had jaw surgery. I've had braces 3 times. I had them at 13, and then I was like 50. And my dentist said, I think you need to go see an orthodontist. I'm like, what are you talking about? And she said, well, your teeth are like point to point. Anyway, after I got my braces off at 13, I guess my lower jaw continued to grow. And so I had to get braces again at 50. But part of that was they detached my upper jaw from my skull and moved it forward. And that was done by a maxillofacial plastic surgeon. I mean, that was quite an experience at 50, which was fine. And it just having your jaw wired shut for 5 weeks is not,
gross.
Yeah, it was. And me being me, I took 2 weeks off, and then I went back to work because I was a self-employed lawyer at the time. And I walked into the office, and my partner said, well, I was going to give you a hard time, but you look so pathetic. I just can't do that. So I worked for the next 3 weeks until they unhinged me. And only then did I realize how little because I could only drink, right? You can only get so many calories in. I wasn't thinking all that clearly, it turns out, until I was getting more food in. But anyway, sorry, went off on a tangent. My point being, the guy who did the surgery was a maxillofacial plastic surgeon. And, it was funny because I said, well, what happens if I don't do the surgery? And they said, well, eventually your teeth will break off. I was like, oh, okay. Well, it wasn't like I had a lot of choice to do it. So,
wow.
There you have it. So yes, plastic surgeons for all different reasons. So
yes, no, that's true.
Although I may visit one of these days and have them like tighten up my face or something. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
No, it might look good for a little while, but they always end up looking really bad as people get older and everything changes. And
well, that would make sense, right? Well, and part of me is like, well, I don't want the downtime either. I like my daily schedule.
Not to mention the pain.
Well, that's true. Well, and here's the thing. There's nothing wrong with that's why I go back to, there's nothing wrong with getting older and looking like I love my laugh lines. I was looking at my pictures from the bodybuilding show I did, and I was smiling. And so, I have all the lines, and I learned every one of those. And well, we all do. And there's nothing wrong with that. So
it just shows that we've had a life.
Yes. And that we've laughed a lot. So when you look at these women whose like faces can't move.
Oh my God, yes.
their choice, but I'd much rather look like, well, though she's had a lot of plastic surgery, I guess, but I think, Jane Fonda certainly has wrinkles now, and she talks about that. And again, it goes back to your reasoning around it. If you're in Hollywood and you think you have to look younger to get roles, that's just unfortunate.
No, that's true. That's true.
But,
Yep.
Anyway.
So now that we've gotten off of the
yes.
the exact subject, but it actually has something to do with it, really, because it's all involved, right?
Yes.
So, okay, well, great. We should probably wrap up.
Okay.
And why don't you let people know where they can find you? And I will also put it in the show notes.
Okay. So my website is silverandstrong.com. SILVERAND.
Oh, A-N-D.
Okay. Yeah. I actually think I might have the ampersand one as well, that points you there, but it's the word and. And if they are on social media, well, by the way, I have a free Facebook group if they're on Facebook that's called Silver and Strong Fitness. It's free to join. It has all sorts of tips about nutrition and training and mindset.
Great.
And so I welcome and encourage people to join that. And it's also a great community. It's a great community of women.
And it's the same Silver and
Silver and Strong Fitness.
It's all that.
Yep. Well, if you just type in Silver and Strong Fitness under groups, it should come up. And then if you are on Instagram, I'm on Instagram at Silver and Strong.
Oh, okay.
Same thing. It's all the same. So
good.
And same thing. I mean, there's like today on Instagram, this day, the way it's Transformation Tuesday. So I will post pictures to kind of show where I started from and where I am. But as we've talked about, my message is the same, which is you are not too old. It is not too late. The power's all within you. Sometimes it's just a matter of educating yourself. It may be getting a coach who can provide some accountability and some guidance. And I feel like, and finding your community, because that community support, I think, is a big part. If you don't have, particularly if you don't have people in your physical proximity who are prioritizing health and fitness, it's really nice to have a community. And as I was mentioning to you, I have clients all over the country and outside the country now too. And the same thing, the Facebook group, there's women from all over the world, from Australia and Sweden and England, so it really is a worldwide community of really awesome women. So
sounds like it.
Happy to add anyone else. Yeah. So that's where you can find me. And by the way, on any of those places, you can send me a message. If anyone has a question, I'm happy to chat. It's really my goal to spread the word.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, my pleasure.
A lot of really great information.
Glad
for sure. And let me finish up with my normal, which is that neither of us are doctors, and this is not to be seen as medical advice. And with that, I will see everybody next week.
This has been Healthy Tips After 50 with Susan Rosen. To stay on the cutting edge of the most effective health strategies, subscribe to this podcast and let us know what you thought of the show with a comment or like on iTunes. Visit healthytipsafter50.com for this episode's show notes, more resources, and free offers.